I don't often comment on stories or people that aren't Mormon, and obviously Elon Musk himself is not Mormon, but as I was reading through this article, I saw this sentence, which made me feel like I just had to bite. And while many people are familiar with the fact that Elon Musk has many different children with many different women, they might not know that the person orchestrating this behind-the-scenes baby mama drama is an ultra-devout Mormon guy named Jared Birchall. And so in this video, I'm going to share some of Birchall's very Mormon background, how he and Elon Musk are connected, and how Birchall is kind of Elon Musk's wingman, and compare some of the very eerie similarities between Elon Musk's modern polygamy and the polygamy founded by Joseph Smith, who was the founder of the Mormon Church. I, like many of you, despise Elon Musk, whether it's the tweet about joking around about impregnating Taylor Swift, the hand gesture that he did during the inauguration, the fact that he's running Doge, which is named after a cryptocurrency, and he is basically operating as an unelected official of the United States government to dismantle it, or the fact that he's transphobic against his own daughter. Truly, I could make an entire video about the massive list of reasons I hate Elon Musk, but many people are already devoted to doing that, and I don't have anything necessarily new to add to the conversation, and many of you are already painfully aware of all of those issues. But after I found out about this Mormon connection, and not just that he employs someone that's Mormon, but that the Mormon person that he employed is basically helping him orchestrate an entire harem of women, it felt like the connection was strong enough that I was ready to devote a video to it. Joseph Smith had over 30 wives, and most of them were married in absolute secrecy, and often his first wife, Emma Smith, didn't know who the other women were. The, one-off relationships he was having, they didn't know who the other women were. He was the only one with the true knowledge of just how many women he was marrying in secret. Similarly, Elon Musk has 14 children with 4 different women, including Grimes, a Neuralink executive, according to this article, a woman named Ashley St. Clair, along with Elon Musk's first wife, Justine Wilson. However, also according to this article, multiple sources close to the tech entrepreneur said that they believe the true number of Musk's children is much higher than publicly known. Basically, Elon doesn't seem to just want to impregnate any random woman, he also wants to impregnate women who are either famous or semi-famous. The Wall Street Journal article was published last week, and they interviewed Ashley St. Clair as part of the article, and it definitely sent some shockwaves through the internet. Here are some of the top comments from this Reddit post. One person said, having a legion of kids, because he literally calls them a legion, to repopulate humanity won't do jack shit if the kids grow into messed up adults with arrested development and superiority complexes because of who their father is. This person said, and they'll all be born with his original face and hairline, lol. And another top comment, but us gays are the ones ruining the sanctity of marriage and tearing apart family values. This article is written by Dana Mattioli, and it is behind a paywall. I'll be screenshotting a lot of the information I got from this article, along with all of the other resources I found while I was researching the story. You can find this article below. Just know it's paywalled, honestly, because they probably knew it was so juicy that people would actually be willing to pay money to find out all this dirt. In addition to the secrecy element of Joseph Smith and Elon Musk, we also have the rationale for why they need to be with so many women. Joseph Smith taught that the reason polygamy was needed was to multiply and replenish the earth, and that sometimes God would give this commandment as a reason to get as many humans onto planet Earth as possible. And even in a Mormon temple, when you do the endowment ceremony, which I talk about in this video here, you promise and commit, and you're commanded to multiply and replenish the earth as one of your agreements with God. And so we have a character like Joseph Smith who was saying that it was God's commandment that he get with all of these women. And Elon Musk really has a similar rationale for why it's noble and valorous for him to have sex with as many women as he wants, because it's all done under the guise of populating the earth and saving the earth from global population decline. What's crazy about Elon Musk's pronatalism is that it basically gives him permission to still feel honorable about impregnating a lot of women and then not being there desire to be a father truly, or having an adverse relationship with these women after he impregnates them, but it's all done under this beautiful guise of multiplying and replenishing the earth, saving the earth from population decline, and so he kind of gets to have his cake and eat it too, while having sex with as many women as he wants, while simultaneously being able to claim that he's doing something honorable and for the good of society. According to this article, it says, during St. Clair's pregnancy, Musk suggested that they bring in other women to have even more of their children faster. To reach legion level before the apocalypse, he said to Claire in a text message viewed by the Wall Street Journal, we need to use surrogates. And so he really is viewing this as this zero-sum game where it's almost going to be the apocalypse, and that he is personally taking responsibility for creating as many children as possible so that he can create a legion to save the world. When Joseph Smith was instituting polygamy, he also phrased things in this kind of very dire straits situation where he said that an angel visited him multiple times, and that on the third time the angel had a flaming sword, and that if Joseph Smith didn't practice polygamy and marry many different women in secret, that he would be destroyed. According to this essay, it says, during that third and final appearance, the angel came with a drawn sword, threatening Joseph with destruction unless he went forward and obeyed the commandment fully. It was after this that he acquired his second polygamist wife, Fanny Alger, who was a maid in the family home at the time. In this scripture, in the Doctrine and Covenants, he also said that his first wife, Emma Smith, would be destroyed if she did not accept the principle of polygamy. And so between Joseph Smith and Elon Musk, both are saying that, it's on them to save the world, and the only way they can save the world is through spreading their seed to multiple women. In Joseph Smith's revelation about polygamy, he said that they needed to do it to ensure the continuation of the seeds forever and ever. Despite Joseph Smith saying it was super necessary for him to marry as many women as he chose, they also kept it a complete secret. Joseph Smith went on record multiple times to say he was never practicing polygamy, and the church didn't even admit to it till 8 years after Joseph Smith's death, when Brigham Young finally said, yes, we're practicing polygamy, and so did Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith also was able to get all of these women to keep the polygamist marriages a secret by saying that God wanted it to be a secret, it would hurt him as a prophet, and he would face scrutiny, and so he was basically able to use religion and God to keep these women silent. And the way Elon Musk keeps his unions a secret is through money and power. In this tweet, Ashley St. Clair, who is basically a conservative social media commentator, said that your last effort in court was to try to gag me while you use a social media channel you literally own to distribute derogatory messages about me and our child to the entire world. It's all about control with you, and everyone can see it. And before we jump into discussing more about Jared Birchall, I think that's one of my final comparisons between Joseph Smith and Elon Musk, is that after the union is settled, after the cards are on the table, the person in power, the man, be it Joseph Smith or Elon Musk, comes in with all of these stipulations and a lot of fear-mongering to make sure that the woman has zero power in the relationship and that the man continues to flex his muscle to ensure that the woman does what he wants. And I'll say the reason I wanted to highlight the similarities between Joseph Smith and Elon Musk is not because I think that Elon Musk is staying awake at night reading a book about how Joseph Smith was able to attain 30 different women. I don't think that Elon Musk has probably ever really even studied about the life of Joseph Smith. I think the reason that the similarities exist is that often when men come into power, they want the same things. If you have any other similarities that I didn't highlight, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel. I have a new video about Mormon teachings or doctrine or history or pop culture every single week, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you want to see that. With that, let me share everything I learned about Jared Birchall, Elon Musk's very, very Mormon right-hand man who helps him practice modern polygamy. This is a photo of Jared Birchall, and as I said, he is the ultra-Mormon fixer for Elon Musk. And in many of the articles I read, they literally use the term fixer because Jared Birchall doesn't have just one job for Elon Musk. He is a man who wears many hats and essentially fixes any of the problems that come Elon Musk's way. This includes things like pushing through a deal to buy a private compound for all of Elon Musk's baby mamas. He also is intimately involved in the non-disclosure agreements with all of the women who Elon Musk has impregnated, including Ashley St. Clair. He is the CEO of Neuralink, but kind of in title only. And so whether it's financial or day-to-day business or baby mama drama, Birchall steps in and fixes Elon Musk's problems. One of the first times Birchall appears within Elon Musk's timeline is that, if you remember way back, there was a British caver who saved some people from a cave accident in Thailand. At the time, Elon Musk basically tweeted that this British guy who was trying to save these people, he tweeted that he was a pedo guy, and this man went on to file a defamation suit against Elon Musk, which is how we have this info about how Birchall literally paid a private investigator to find out if the British caver, whose name was Vernon Unsworth, to find out if he was actually a pedophile. So they paid about $50,000 to a private investigator to try to prove he was a pedophile, but they obviously didn't find anything, which is why Mr. Unsworth fired the defamation lawsuit. The reason I thought that this was worth highlighting is that Mormons are notoriously pretty bad at lying, and this is kind of the first time Elon Musk asked Birchall to step up and solve this problem for him. And so in the deposition, we learned that Birchall used a fake name, and the fake name he came up with was Jim Brickhouse to contact the investigator. But then while he was contacting this private investigator to figure out if this person was really a pedo guy, he accidentally also just emailed the private investigator from his real email, from his actual real name, instead of the Jim Brickhouse name. It's also evidence that Jared Birchall is willing to go behind the scenes and do some slightly sketchy stuff, like trying to prove someone that was basically a hero in that situation was a pedophile. Jared Birchall stated in the court deposition that he had an instinct to protect Musk. And this instinct to protect Musk, which is quite interesting because it doesn't really seem like he has an instinct to do the right thing, and I'll get to it in a bit, but there's many different sources that also refer to him as a squeaky clean, straight-laced Mormon dude. But rather than an instinct to do the right thing or to quit when you have a corrupt boss, his instinct is to protect Elon Musk. The reason this is so ironic is that you'd think that a very, very religious person would do the right thing and be a Christian and treat women with kindness, especially women who have recently become pregnant or recently had children. You know, you'd think that if he was a truly good person, he would be infinitely kind to these women and try to be doing things to make sure the women were actually taken care of, but instead we get quotes like this. In the December phone call, Birchall told St. Clair that his job was to protect Elon. He told her that he had been happily married to the same woman, but he has been very involved in family law courts, very extensively through his work for Musk. I feel like I've been through like 3 divorces, he said. And so rather than operating as a legitimately moral and good person, he's basically trying to fix deals so that Elon Musk is very protected, and so that the women are bound to stay completely silent and to not get in his way at all, even though he's literally the father of their children. In this quote, it says that St. Clair didn't sign the NDA, the agreement, which an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. It would basically mean that she would get a large sum of money, about $15 million as a one-time fee, and $100,000 a month. So he was trying to offer her a lot of money, but in return, she had to promise to stay silent. It says the agreement prevented her from speaking about Musk in relation to the child or disparaging him, but didn't bar Musk from speaking negatively about her if he wanted. So as I said at the beginning, he wants to hold all the cards, he wants to hold all the power, and he wants to impregnate women as much as he wants, but he wants them to stay silent and have absolutely no power, despite the fact that they've literally had his children and deserve at least respect, and for their child to, you would think, have a father figure. Now, Jared Birchall is just about as Mormon as you can get. He served a Mormon mission. He went to Brigham Young University, which is the same college I went to, a college owned and operated by the Mormon Church. He has his Eagle Scout, and so name the Mormon metric and he's probably checked it off the list. He also has 5 children of his own, and before he moved to Texas, he was a member of the bishopric in California. I also thought it was kind of hilarious because he is one of 11 children, and growing up he was involved in the Birchall Family Singers, which was a song and dance troupe which toured across California, very similar to the Osmonds. And this is also something that's very common in Mormonism, is to have whole families singing and dancing troupes, kind of like the Von Trapp family. I tried so hard to find any little reference or clip of this family singing group, but it seems like it's been scrubbed from the internet. And that was another theme of learning about Jared Birchall, is just how hard he's worked to keep his life private and offline. Meanwhile, Elon Musk's life is in every single other article and news post you seem to come across. I did find this Daily Mail article where they've screenshotted pictures of his house and his family. Most of the coverage of him is from 2022, and so I think that as all of this story about him and his name in the news, Jared Birchall and not just Elon Musk, I think that as this was happening, they totally shut down their Facebooks, because you can still find their Facebook profiles, but they're completely private. I did think that this family photo was kind of hilarious because it's very, very common for Mormon families to all wear the same exact color for family photos. In that Daily Mail article, it says, Birchall's Facebook, now little used, suggests a profound personal faith. I also found this, so Jared Birchall is married to Laura Birchall. She works for this foundation, and I saw that they are giving money pretty consistently to Brigham Young University and sending money to Utah, and so the family does seem to still be intimately involved with the church. Before getting involved with Elon Musk, Jared Birchall mostly worked in finance, which is also a very Mormon job. If you're not familiar, the Mormon Church has over $200 billion in assets. Many think it's 3 or 4 billion. And so working in finance for businesses like Morgan Stanley is pretty par for the course. In this article, it said, he would bring his young son to the office, balancing him on one hand, the former colleague recalled. Bringing your kid to work seems to also be something that Elon Musk is interested in doing. People are saying he's using his own child as a human shield because it basically automatically gives fathers cred if they can show that they're an involved parent. If you're familiar with this photo of Elon Musk bringing one of his children into the Oval Office, you'll know that Elon Musk often uses one of his favorite children as a little, I think he kind of uses him as a pawn in order to garner more public favor. And so I thought that quote was kind of hilarious about him bringing his son to the office, because both men are kind of engaged, in my opinion, in this dad of the year behavior, which is actually kind of just using your kid to gain more popularity with your office buddies. I think we can pretty definitively say that if women show up to work with their kids, they're not so eagerly welcomed, and the women aren't, patted on the back, wow, what a great mom. It's more like, why can't you keep that kid at home? So seeing both men be able to use their children to show that they are dad of the year, when you know that women don't receive the same level of applause for the same behavior, is frustrating to say the least. Because Jared Birchall served a mission, that also means he has the endowment ceremony done. That means he wears garments, and that means that he is essentially the highest level of Mormon that is possible. I do wonder if there's an element of polygamy not being that big of a deal in the Mormon Church, or at least in Mormon history, if that's playing a role in his moral calculus in the way that he's dealing with these women and silencing them and offering them money for their silence, and really using money as a threat and as a carrot on a stick to ensure that the women aren't publicly disparaging Musk. The Mormon Church has taken notice of Jared Birchall. They wrote this profile piece about him in 2022, where they claim he's a member, he graduated from BYU, he's obviously closely linked in with the most wealthy man on the planet. And it's so interesting to me to see who the Deseret News, which is the Mormon Church's news outlet, who they choose to highlight. If you are familiar with Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, they did not like that. And so you won't find any of those women profiled in the Deseret News, even though some of those women do hold temple recommends and are completely active in the church. On the flip side, though, there was a woman recently on The Bachelor, and she was a member of the church, and in this article they did choose to give her a profile, probably because the image that she puts forward on The Bachelor is something that is favorable, it's good for their PR, it's something that they liked, and so while they won't profile any of the women from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, because they like the woman that was on The Bachelor, they'll give her a profile. Similarly, we do see that the church was willing to give Jared a profile, probably because he's rich, he's connected to the wealthiest man on the planet, he has 5 kids, he served a mission, he was in the bishopric, so he's really checking all of the boxes for the church to say that they like him, even though now it's been revealed he is involved in some pretty shady stuff. The Salt Lake Tribune also talked about Jared Birchall, saying that Elon Musk's wingman is LDS. They quoted an insider article which said, "Jared's the most straight-laced person you'll ever meet," a former colleague told Insider. "He's a very ethical and trustworthy guy, so I can see why Elon puts a lot of confidence in him." And so it's so interesting to see this image of him as a straight-laced, squeaky clean Mormon guy pop up over and over and over again, despite the fact that we're also learning about just how far he's willing to go to silence all of these new mothers who have become impregnated because Elon Musk reached out to them. He DM'd them, and yet they are now the ones who are being gagged into silence and told that if you want the money, you're going to have to comply with Elon Musk's rules. Mormon men like Birchall are taught that moral cleanliness and chastity and sexual purity are some of the most important things imaginable. And so to see him be this kind of quiet architect who's orchestrating all of these secret relationships behind closed doors is very hypocritical. It also to me feels very reminiscent of Ruby Frankie's moral calculus, because she, as I said in my video about her, she would never drink coffee, she'd never get a second piercing, she'd never get a tattoo. She sees herself as being squeaky clean and straight-laced, and yet she will still abuse her children verbally and later on physically, and doesn't see that as immoral because she's so used to this legalistic and rules-based version of morality. And so while I bet you'll never catch Jared sipping a cup of coffee or sipping a cocktail, you'll never find him in a tattoo parlor or probably even saying the words damn or hell, you will find him using money to coerce women into silence after they've just recently had children. And so I truly don't think Mormons have an actual understanding of what is truly moral and good compared to how to follow rules and how to make sure that they are following a strict rule book. It's easy to see that Jared is often following the law. He's trying to put NDAs in place. He's trying to put legal documents in place. He's trying to cross the T's and dot the I's. Almost everything that I found that he's done is legal. It's just not moral. And I think it's important to make a distinction between the two. Another interesting piece of info that I found is that Jared Birchall was actually fired in 2010 after 10 years at Merrill. You can see here, this is his public regulatory record, and they said that he was fired for engaging in conduct resulting in management's loss of confidence, including sending correspondence to a client without management approval. So that seems a little bit shady, but he was hired by another financial firm a few months later, and so it doesn't seem like it was that big of a deal, but it is an interesting hiccup to note. Birchall went on to work at Morgan Stanley, and it was interesting to see that as he was exiting Morgan Stanley and working for Elon Musk, he was basically brokering deals to make it so that Elon Musk got more favorable financing for some of his properties and his loans, and all of those properties and loans and mortgages were going through Morgan Stanley. So it does seem that Birchall was also kind of an emissary for Morgan Stanley to acquire Elon Musk's business. One thing that became abundantly clear reading this article is that Jared Birchall is is the go-to guy for the baby mamas to try to get into contact with Elon Musk. The pattern seems to be that Elon Musk will DM random women on Twitter, trying to get with them. Some of them say yes, and then after he impregnates them, Jared Birchall steps in and starts being the go-between to decide what's going to be in the NDA, how much money they'll get, what terms of secrecy they are swearing to. So here's the first few paragraphs from this article. Ashley St. Clair wanted to prove that Elon Musk was the father of her newborn baby, but to ask the billionaire to take a paternity test, the right-wing social media influencer had to go through Musk's longtime fixer, Jared Birchall. Birchall offered St. Clair some advice. His boss was a very big-hearted, kind and generous person, he said, but Musk had a different side. When a mother of his child goes the legal route in these discussions, that always leads to a worse outcome for that woman than it would have been otherwise. Plus, he said, Musk wasn't sure the child was his. It also goes on to say, behind the scenes, Birchall also manages the financial and privacy deals Musk wants for the women raising the world's richest man's babies. And so on top of being the wealth manager and the family planning manager, he's also managing all of the harem drama that Elon Musk is creating by DMing random women and trying to make it so that he can get them pregnant. In this Business Insider article, it says that Dennis Jaff, a family office consultant, told Insider there are two types of family office leaders. So that's kind of Jared Birchall's specific term for what he does as a family office leader. First, there are challengers who give advice to the wealth creator even if it's not what they want to hear. And the second one is fixers or doers who follow the principle unquestioningly and often end up supporting the person's worst habits. So in this case, rather than Jared Birchall saying, hey, I'm a straight-laced, very squeaky clean Mormon man and I have principles and I'm not comfortable with all of this sleeping around and impregnating all of these women, he's not, in this quote, he's certainly not the challenger or a person who's saying, I don't really want to be involved in this. You are too immoral for me. He is instead a fixer and an enabler and saying, okay, if Elon's going to be DMing all of these women, if he's going to be impregnating all of these women, I'm going to swoop in and drop some contracts to protect this person so that they can basically continue to do this with women over and over and over again, rather than saying enough is enough and you are treating all of these women very poorly, along with the children that you're creating with them. When he was trying to get St. Clair to sign the NDA, Birchall also said, we've been through way too many issues where to not sign some agreement associated with handling over $15+ million is absolutely insane and irresponsible. And because we have dealt with some very unstable, mentally unstable people that all of a sudden misremember things. And so even in that quote, it makes it quite clear that this is a pattern that has continued multiple times. And just like I said at the beginning of the video, many people say that the true number of Elon Musk's women that he's impregnated is much higher than publicly known. And this type of quote where he's saying, this has happened multiple times and we've really learned our lesson, is obviously proof that this has become a very entrenched pattern. Ashley St. Clair, of course, is not the only famous woman who's come forward to say that she's being mistreated. Grimes alleged that Elon Musk kept one of her children from her for 5 entire months and would not allow her to see her own children. She also had a different occasion where one of her children was having a health crisis and Elon Musk was ignoring her phone calls, and so she tweeted at him in order to try to get his attention. And it seems like tweeting at Elon Musk is the only way that these women who have had his children are able to even get his attention. Elon Musk and Grimes had a custody battle in Austin, Texas, and wouldn't you know it, Jared Birchall is sitting front and center in order to be the one who is helping Elon Musk behind the scenes to work out the deal between him and Grimes. Birchall's roles, of course, go past this baby mama situation, past the wealth management. According to Wikipedia, he also has advised the Trump transition team on space policy and artificial intelligence. He also was involved in interviewing several candidates for positions at the State Department. So he is really putting his hand in every single pot lot. Everywhere that Elon Musk is, you'll also find Jared Birchall. And so that's Jared Birchall, the ultra-Mormon man who is acting as Elon Musk's wingman, as Elon cannot keep it in his pants. I think another issue I take with this mass population of the world philosophy that Elon Musk is bringing front and center is that it makes it abundantly clear that he doesn't think that fathers really matter, or rather that maybe they do matter, but that the only thing that they should do to participate in the children's life is to give them money. It's similar to that comment from the beginning from the Reddit thread, but us gays are the ones ruining the sanctity of marriage and tearing apart family values. It's shocking to me that there's no issue in Elon Musk's mind that these children are really not going to grow up with a father. Some of the children with different women will have a father figure because he's choosing to interact with them a little bit more. But a lot of these children that either aren't on the record or that, he's estranged from the mother, they really will not grow up with a father figure. All they'll grow up with is a person who sends their mothers large fees in a bank wire transfer, but not with a person who's going to be in the home and caring for them and loving them and learning what school was like that day. And so fathers in this populate the earth with surrogates and make this little army of mini Elons. These kids are not going to have a father figure. And I truly do not comprehend the need to create so many children when you yourself know that you are not going to be very involved in these children's lives. During a conference in Saudi Arabia last year, Elon Musk said, "I think for most countries, they should view the birth rate as the single biggest problem they need to solve. If you don't make new humans, there's no humanity, and all the policies in the world don't matter." And so the interviewer joked that Musk was doing his part to address the issue, and he said, "Yes, I am. I mean, you've got to walk the talk, so I do have lots of kids, and I encourage others to have lots of kids." In this article, he also told St. Clair a story about a high-profile woman in Japan asked him to be a sperm donor, which the quote is here, and he gave his sperm to the person who asked for it. And so, it seems pretty clear to me that he's mostly interested in spreading his seed, not interested in being a father figure or being involved in these children's lives necessarily. St. Clair also pointed out that if she had to sign this NDA, it would make her son grow up feeling illegitimate. So Jared Birchall literally texted her while she was in labor to remind her to not put Elon Musk's name on the birth certificate. And in this article at the end, it reveals that Ashley St. Clair finally was able to get Elon Musk to take a paternity test for the child, and that the paternity test came back with a 99.9% chance of Elon Musk being the father, aka he is the father of the child. Of course, while she's asking for the paternity test, while she is going to the media to say, hey, this child is Elon Musk's child, Ashley St. Clair said that every time she goes to the press or tweets at Elon, that there is less and less money sent to her. Basically, every time something comes to the public, they started at $100,000 a month, then it was $50,000, then it was $20,000, and every time she tries to raise her hand or go public with some sort of piece of information, Elon Musk and Jared Birchall are basically using this money to manipulate her and as a weapon to say, if you keep speaking out, we're going to make it more and more difficult for you financially. One person reported that the reason Elon Musk wants to have NDAs in place so that the mothers can't speak out is because that Elon Musk believes it's better to resolve these matters behind closed doors for the safety and security of the child, which is awfully convenient considering he is bringing one of his children into the Oval Office in front of many, many reporters. And so it doesn't seem like he actually is truly concerned about the safety or privacy of children. Another one of Elon Musk's baby mama's is named Siobhan Zillis. She was an executive at Neuralink, and she's had several of his children. She's one of the people that lives at the $35 million compound, which he purchased in order to house all of his baby mamas in the same place. Apparently Grimes was off, he said that she should come live there, and she declined. Ashley St. Clair also declined. This is truly, in my opinion, Warren Jeffs territory. I personally have been to the compound that Warren Jeffs built to house his many, many wives, many of them underage. And to me, once you're at the level of building a compound to house all of your many children and their mothers, you are probably into a territory that is so strange and abnormal, it definitely deserves a little bit of criticism. The article also covers another influencer named Tiffany Fong, who is a cryptocurrency influencer, and Elon Musk DM'd her, asked if he could impregnate her. She declined, but she also ended up telling some people that he had DM'd her. And, when he first became interested in her, he followed her, he interacted with her posts. Apparently this earned her about $21,000 in a 2-week period because of the massive amount of engagement she got after he followed her. But when she declined to be impregnated by him, he unfollowed her. She lost a bunch of that revenue. And so once again, we see how money is used to manipulate and try to get women to do what he wants, because if you listen, if you go along with it, you get the payout, but you also will be asked to be silent. And if you don't go along with it, you also risk the chance of him punishing you in some other way. So in the case of Tiffany Fong, it definitely seems like because she rejected his advances, he stopped engaging with her. She lost a lot of that money that she was making as a result of his interest in her. And had she gone along with it, it's likely she would have continued to make that income off of her Twitter. And so we see in this case as well, Elon Musk manipulating this other woman in order to get her to sleep with him, and when she refused, things didn't work out for her. On the topic of fathers not mattering, it also even feels like Jared Birchall must, to some extent, have the same ideology, at least that fathers only matter to the level that they can provide financially. I've shared this document in the past, which basically says that fathers are primarily responsible for bringing home the bacon and for making money for the family. And when you see all the things that Jared Birchall is doing from day to day and all of his many responsibilities, it's hard to believe that he's a ultra present parent for his 5 children that he has with his wife. Thank you so much for watching. I know we covered a ton of ground today between Elon Musk, Joseph Smith, the Mormon Church, Jared Birchall, money and baby mamas and harem drama. There was a lot to get into, so if there's anything else that you felt like I missed, please feel free to drop it in the comments. This article on the Wall Street Journal was published just last week, and so this is somewhat a live reaction to the story breaking. If there's any new developments, I'll add them in the links below. Please consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and as always, I will see you all next week.